Hi everyone. I wanted to give you some notes on the line project, our first project. Just some practical things. You know, tracing paper can make your life a lot easier. It's a great planning tool for composition. Just the ability to take some drawings and see through them to other drawings, to layer them, especially for this exercise where we're focused on getting lines to cooperate from one element to another to create a sense of continuity between them. If you can use a little bit of tracing paper, it makes your life a lot easier. So if you can get your hands on it, it's going to help you tremendously. Now, don't lose heart if you don't have tracing paper and you can't get your hands on it. It'll be okay. And by the way, I mean you can find tracing paper at office supply places. You can find it in department stores. It's pretty prolific in terms of its availability. But if you can't, remember you can freehand this sucker. Like you can draw like your composition out at the right size just in pencil, freehand. Connect your lines as best you can. Remember, I want you using references. So if you're drawing it freehand, your references can be any size that you want. You can take photographs. You can use images from books, etc. Just use, I want you, again, using your eyes. That's really important. Don't just draw out of your imagination. You've got to have something as, to reference when you're drawing. Your drawings are going to improve dramatically if you're using your eyes. You can even get a ruler out and help yourself, like measure your reference and then measure the size it's supposed to be in your finished drawing. Whatever works for you. Now, those of you who, again, are not that great at drawing and need a little bit of guidance, you can use this tracing paper to kind of transfer images to your composition. And even if you're drawing freehand, if you've got tracing paper, you can put each individual element onto that paper and then it'll help you organize your composition. So to that end, I'm going to take a quick look. And by the way, like 11 by 14, which is the size that I suggest that you work at, and it's, not everybody's got references that are that large. I will say, like if you happen to have, albums, I don't know if you have albums or not. I'm old, so I actually have vinyl records. So I could take a larger reference from an album and transfer that image, right, using tracing paper. Or again, I could sit down if I had lots of time and freehand this, measure and get it as accurate as I could. Or, just drawing from it, take what I need. So if you look around for larger images, like coffee table books, records, calendars, I don't know what you've got laying around or what you can get your hands on, but those help. Like some of you may have a screen that has a glass front. You'd never want to trace over a screen that has a delicate LCD surface. But some monitors, some televisions have a glass surface that doesn't react if you touch it. If you touch a screen and you see, that halo around the edge of your finger, that's bad news to touch. You're just not supposed to touch it, and you certainly don't want to draw on it. But anyway, that's one way that you can get an image larger. But I want to put this in your ear that if you have limited access to materials of size, like if you don't have 11 by 14, but you have 8.5 by 11, then you could work at that size. And if 8.5 by 11 fits your images better, right? If you can find images that are smaller that'll work at 8.5 by 11, so be it. So scale isn't going to be that big a deal for this one, okay? So do what you need to do to make a good image and to succeed, okay? That's what I'm more interested in. All right, so again, let's see here. So here's some images, right? And of course I would drop it right then. I've got a few pieces here. You've already seen Paul Simon. Here's Louis Prima. I thought it would be nice to do musicians and maybe take something away from the musicians in my composition. So you'll notice that I drew them in red pencil. I like to do that if I'm going to be looking through something, like usually a red pencil. If I'm painting, red isn't going to be as intrusive as like graphite will be sometimes. And if I'm going to be like using this to transfer to another image, if I've got two different colors of mark making materials, it can sometimes help organize your thoughts. So so I took each one of these pieces individually. And I'm sorry, like Paul is upside down for you, but it'll be all right. Here's Louis. You'll notice I put little X's next to them to help me register them, right? If you put an X on one and then lay the other on the top and mark those X's, you can get them in place. And, you know, basically I just kind of moved these around until I was happy with the structure of the piece. And I thought about, okay, how could I get this line to connect to that line? And so this is actually kind of fun, like figuring out how am I going to get this figure to participate with the lines of another figure. And so I came up with this initially, in that, you know, that basically I'm marrying the shoulders of Louis Prima, the larger figure, with the other figures, right? And, you know, I've got a piece of 11 by 14 Bristol board underneath here to help me figure out where it's going to sit on the picture plane when I'm done, right? And I'm thinking about, like, you know, I want there to be lines that come off the edge of the picture plane. Okay, so, and I want to think about letting things come off the edge of that picture plane as well. All right, so once I've kind of got those situated, if I'm worried about them moving, I can take a little bit of tape. This is blue painter's tape that I've put on my jeans and, oops, and made it a little less sticky. You know that trick, if you put tape on your jeans or on your shirt and pull it off a few times, it'll make it less sticky and it won't tear your paper. Or you can buy that frog tape stuff, which is great. It's already, like the yellow frog tape is less sticky already. Okay, so now this is kind of important. Get that centered. All right, so here is my drawing in darker graphite. There we go. And so I chose particular lines that, you know, okay, I'm going to leave this line out, or I'm going to add a line or extend a line. And so working in the red pencil helps me kind of differentiate what was before, and now I'm working in this darker graphite to kind of help finalize that compositional structure and to make those connections between the figures. Does that make sense? All right, so listen, you're going to come up with your own way of doing this, right? You don't have to do it my way. Part of this class is not only exploring different materials, but different methods, different, you know, processes. So I encourage you to ignore everything I just said. If you can find a way to make it work better for you, then great. That's how you figure out who you are. I just ask that you keep exploring and keep thinking, keep growing, right? Okay, so, you know, once you get that final version, that off, and you'll notice here I left the eyes out. You know, these are all singers. I wasn't going to take their mouths away from them, but I took their eyes away because I thought it was kind of interesting, right? In fact, here I'm going to turn this around. This is the direction I was thinking of it being. But, you know, I really want you guys to all be thinking about, okay, what orientation should this be, right? I don't want you to think about, you know, what's right side up. I want you to think about, you know, the plane of the picture, the frame is your baby. Like, you can move that frame any which way you want. You don't have to use gravity when you're making art. You can ignore the laws of physics. Like, it's the beautiful thing about making art is, like, you can transcend all those limitations of this world, you know? So enjoy yourself, like, move it around. Like, I don't have to do anything conventional here. Okay, so, and listen, in the handout I asked you, like, okay, well, take something away or add something. Or, like, if this guy's hair suddenly was fire, you know, and Paul Simon's hair, suddenly he had flowers growing from his scalp, which would be good for him right now because he's as bald as I am. What if Louis Prima's hat was a dog? You know, like, it's, you know, just let your imagination go, like, have some fun with this, right? Now, transferring that to Bristol board is going to be a challenge as well, right? Like, so I've got my simple Bristol board here, 11 by 14. Again, if you need to work smaller, you can. And I've got a light box here. Now, let me turn this on. In fact, let me turn off these other lights now. So you see, you can, that Bristol board, you can see through it, right? Okay. I'll put my tracing paper down first with my composition on it. Here's my Bristol board. Bristol board has a little water damage on it. I need a better piece. Okay, so you see that you can actually see through this Bristol board. Now, if you don't have a light box, that's fine. Just take it to a window. Hold it up to a window when it's daylight. You know, you got to have daylight to do that. You know, hold it up to that window and trace it onto your finished piece. And from there, embellish it. Like, you know, what are you going to do with these contour lines? And maybe you're going to, you know, again, when you go to transfer this, maybe you're going to embellish with more lines. Maybe like on Louis Prima's shirt, I've got a few stripes, right? I could make more stripes. Or I could follow the contours of their faces or their arms or legs to create more line and more of a sense of motion, right? So, again, ultimately, you want line to stand out. Like, you don't want to take paint to this, or ink, or pastel, and make shapes dominate it. Make sure that the lines are the dominant feature. I really want you focused on line. And remember, like, you need to have a focal point. One of these three things needs to stand out, and if you can do it with line, great. You know, one of the things that I haven't added to this yet, like, all these lines are the same weight. I would vary the weight of the lines. Some thicker, some thinner, some that are calligraphic. You know, maybe your thing is going to be more active line. Maybe the character of your line is going to be more sketchy. Think about what makes sense for your image and do it. Remember, keep the number of colors to a minimum. You know, 2, 3, 4. You know, you can always use black and white to lighten them up or darken them if you need to. But few colors. I would suggest just, you know, 2 colors plus black and white would be good for this. Keep it really focused. All right. Well, there you have it. That's, you know, a little, get you a little further down the road. Again, explore materials. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, but if you do make mistakes, correct them, right? Do your best to be good at your craft. Really, you know, keep things as neat as you possibly can. Okay? And, you know, look, you're going to have, like, if you use water media on this thing, it's going to warp the paper a bit. Just let it dry and it'll flatten out a little bit, but you can expect it to warp some. It'll be all right. Okay? Take a good photograph of it, because that's part of your craft as well. Like, make it, you know, take it outside, make sure it's well lit, get a good photo. That's part of the deal. Okay, there you have it. Go explore, have fun, impress me, make something beautiful and poetic and energetic and, you know, dynamic. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Ciao.